What's up, gamers? For the first time in a long time, we've got a mirror matchup for you here on NanMan's Nerd Quarter. It is going to be Hardened Scales versus Hardened Scales here, which is going to be really interesting to see what sort of stalemate or speed run takes place within this matchup. It can kind of go one of two ways, as one player might just have an explosive turn and be able to capitalize and get out the gate and kill someone off very quickly using Arcbound Ravager shenanigans, Zabaz shenanigans, Inkmoth Nexus shenanigans, or it gets super stalemated and neither player can really capitalize on it and are stuck. So we're going to see Ancient Strings, of course, still being used, no longer used in Tron. Of course, we have our Pro Tour stuff has come and gone, and we know it is all bird all the time with Nadu, the Winged Wisdom, taking over and dominating Modern. Some players are still piloting decks that they have the consistent lines and grinds with, so they are using the decks that they enjoy. Plus, it's locals, right? The decks that you're playing at locals are often going to be a different meta than bigger events, especially the Pro Tour, which is a very curated meta, but it's a good snapshot of what the modern meta is going to be looking like. This is going to be a really important card. Haywire Might actually really nice and really important here for dealing with pesky artifacts that are Hardened Scales tends to accumulate over the course of the game, and so we will be double Ancient Stirrings happening here. So one earlier, one now, and this time we're going to grab a Zabaz off of this. So if you're not familiar with Hardened Scales, it is a value engine, high synergy, all about +1/+1 counters using cards like this. Patchwork Automaton helps to be able to get +1 counters on it whenever you're casting artifacts. Welding Jar, of course, that 0-cost artifact gives stuff some regenerate. So very, very cool to see. I will say, for those that are watching, I hope you guys have been enjoying all the modern coverage. Again, Mondays is our big modern coverage day. We also have modern coverage on Thursdays, but also doing other content on Thursdays, one of which is going to be the Vintage Cube content that's going to be coming out the month of July, which we're in at this point in time of recording and time of the release of this video. So hope you guys enjoy some of that stuff over the next couple of weeks as we are putting up some of that content. Of course, it was all streamed up live over on twitch.tv/TheRealNanMan. If you guys wanted to see some live content, that's over there. It's not as consistent as it used to be on our Modern Magic Monday stuff, but we're trying to get in there on the weekends and get in some content for you all to be able to enjoy live. Agatha Soul Cauldron, pretty much still being used here as a nice way to kind of build up a powerhouse, and we're going to be turning it into a Walking Ballista. So we can cast Walking Ballista for 0, meaning it will die, go to the graveyard, then Agatha Soul Cauldron could then be able to exile that creature and start putting +1 counters on our lovely little automatons here and start shooting down our opponent's stuff. So very, very cool to see the start that this game is going out here. And Walking Ballista is one of the most important creatures within this deck, so keep an eye out on how much that impacts the next couple of turns here, having lots of counters on it. No Hardened Scales for either player at this moment, which is fine. We don't necessarily need the namesake of the deck in order to win with the deck. Now it's the debate about combat potentially here. Yeah, swing 4. Keep a clock going. Do we do the blockers? Yeah, looks like we'll throw Zabaz in the way here. Modular triggers. Move that +1 counter over here. And pass the turn after that. All right, we got to see a lot of searching and setting up previously. So now it's the question of what will come of it. How will things go from there? Do we have a Arcbound Ravager? Do we have the Ozolith, Urza Saga? Where are we at? Do we have maybe one of our Pasages to kind of help and just shoot our automaton and pay for the ward cost? Because it is a ward 2 ability on there. Yeah, 2 cards in hand, double checking the amount of cards to kind of decide and be able to plan ahead. Agatha Soul Cauldron. Let's put a counter on our automaton because we cast an artifact. Now, don't forget, Agatha's Soul Cauldron also helps double our duty of graveyard hate because we could be able to start exiling cards from our opponent's graveyard. It doesn't just have to be from our graveyard. There are these double duty effects that I always think are one-sided and need to, do reminders and stuff like that. So activating our Soul Cauldron, putting a +1 counter, and now we're sitting in a higher position than our opponent. There, okay, so Haywire Might is what gets exiled here, so we do get that confirmation. So both players sitting with our Haggis Soul Cauldron, Haywire Might, pretty nice. Gives us that added bonus. Oh, Pithing Needle. I don't remember what they named here, whether it was Agatha Soul Cauldron, whether it was Inkmoth Nexus. Might have been Inkmoth Nexus there. Might have been the safe, like, let's play it safe. I'm tapping out to do this. I don't want you to do something crazy and just kill me. Zabaz coming out. The Glimmer Wasp, of course, modular 1. Doubles up on those modular triggers. Also, because you cast an artifact, we are going to be seeing that continual build up and power up there of our automaton. I don't know. Mirror matchups are so much fun because they play so differently than any other game. Because the lines in which that you're piloting and walking are going to be very different and very specific. That it's like your deck very well, your opponent knows their deck very well, and now it's coming down to how well you two can go through it. And oh, hey, there's a mystery card in hand. Beseju is going to be channeled here. Do we get the Soul Cauldron here? Which one are we getting rid of? Yeah, Soul Cauldron. Yeah, so Beseju, also that added bonus effect of the Beseju that I always forgot about is initially I thought you could only get basics from it. Beseju will let you be able to pull a land with a basic land type, so you can be able to get, shock lands and surveil lands and things like that. Destroys artifacts, enchantments, or non-basic lands your opponent controls. So the Beseju doing very well and pulls extreme duties in this because you could be able to hit anything of importance with the exception of the One Ring for if either of these players are rocking the One Ring or not. I'm not sure off the top of my head if their lists are. Every now and again you'll see some lists run a 1 of, 2 of within the Hardened Scales lists. All right, in the tank, we know that there's a Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista on 0 triggers increasing our automaton even bigger. Swing 6. Do we do some blockies and just trade? Well, there's an untapped Soul Cauldron to make it into 6 for 7 total power. So it says no blocks. We're at 21. We can afford to take 6. Go to 15. And then pass the turn after that. Okay. Welding jar. Let's keep bumping it up. All right, in the tank a little bit. It's a debate about maybe the Inkmoth activation here. Whoa, paying 4. Do we have the One Ring? Nope. Walking Ballista for 2. Trigger. Increase the automaton's power. It comes with 2 counters to help us. Could shoot the Zabaz here. Got options now. Are things turning a corner a little bit? All right, so end step, we're going to respond and use the Soul Cauldron to attempt to put a +1 counter on our Patchwork Automaton. Just continue to make it bigger at this point. We got to try to race our opponent's automaton. It's basically, you know, Spider-Man memeing each other here, staring each other down as one keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The other one has to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, or they're just going to get run over. Now, the one benefit is, you know, that resolves. Cool. Get that going. We do have our Shadow Spear, which could be beneficial, adding an additional point of damage, as well as trample and lifelink to kind of help close out the game a little bit more here. Also, the Inkmoth Nexus, of course, does exist, so you could be able to fly. It's going to be dangerous because of the Walking Ballista out, so we can't really afford to push for that at this moment. So we're going to attempt to do the Shadow Spear equipment. So it's basically a 2/2 with 6 counters on it, making it an 8/8. Same power and toughness as our opponents. We do, of course, still have our own Agatha Soul Cauldron to make it bigger. Swinging 8. All right, swinging in with Zabaz, swinging in with the automaton here. Now in the tank about whether or not we're blocking, because you sit here and you're like, yes, we could block Zabaz here. The modular will just go on the automaton, making it bigger, pushing for more damage. We could also try to activate Inkmoth and put some counters on it. That way, it's risky. So in the tank, definitely trying to think about the most optimal play here. So declare blockers. All right, let's see. Looks like we're going to do some manipulations for some counters here. There's a couple of bigger modern events coming up. SCG Baltimore is coming up. They're going to be doing, of course, a bunch of events on Fridays and Saturdays. So, we're going to try to regenerate Zabaz so it does not die, so we can't manipulate and move the counters. Interesting choice. 8 total damage, gaining 8. Oof, big push here. Yeah, so with Modern coming up, we know that there's going to be another ban list in August, but it's going to be quite a bit of time of pretty much all bird all the time. So if you're aware of that, it's going to be a lot of bird action, so be prepared, especially at bigger events. There's the One Ring. I knew it was coming at some point. We knew one of these lists was running it. I mean, One Ring's so good. We've talked about it before, but it's one of those cards that is not likely to be getting a reprint because of the IP and the deals that Wizards of the Coast got to be able to print the set. So think about the cards that exist within the Lord of the Rings, especially the One Ring that is, very much a mainstay in Modern. We see it in Hardened Scales. We'll see it in Tron lists. We'll see it in the Jeskai Control lists. It is a very powerful card and pushing quite a bit, 75 $80 a pop, I think, right now. Maybe it's 100. I can't remember where it's at now. Let's see. One ring. Oh, it's $110 for that art. What? Okay. That's a thing. All right. Oh, wait. Pithing Needle, I think, was on Ink Moth. Didn't I say that earlier so we can't? All right. Bag End, a.k.a. Horizon Canopy. We like that. Tap that, draw a card. Walking Ballista for 1. That gets bigger. Automaton continues to grow. But now we're kind of continuing with this almost like go wide strategy. Can't do anything meaningful pushes or attacks here because our opponent, was protected. Use one ring, start digging for some answers here. All right. Tough position to be in. Oh, I like this echoing deeps here. If need be, you could be able to turn it into an Urza Saga. You could be able to use it as an Inkmoth Nexus, like pulls double duty if you want to have it enter tapped. I like it. Basically gives you 5 copies of Urza Saga. So very, very cool card. In this case, it's just a regular colorless land, which our deck is mainly all colorless with the few exceptions here. So, adding that in there seems cool. I mean, some of the lists are now running Phyrexian Tower, help to pop and move some modular counters around, help to kind of explode and come out. Also gives us more chances to be able to cast a one ring earlier in time. So I like that idea of adding Phyrexian Tower in here. Okay, stuck. Looking for answers with the run one ring. Down to 6 life. Go to 4 guaranteed on upkeep unless we recycle the one ring here, which I don't believe we have. Otherwise, why not just play it, right? So what do we got here? Oh, looked like we caught a glimpse of a hangerback walker here. I mean, the options is like we're delaying, right? Delay. Hope that we can draw into an Arcbound Ravager, something to help us kind of break this stalemate that exists. Zabaz is a little bit better, right? We could start blowing up our own artifacts if we need to. We can get flying. We can do some manipulation, try to fly over. Okay, let's do destroy target artifact you control. What are we destroying? What are we doing? I'd like to destroy this to move this counter on here, making our Walking Ballista bigger. It is now a 3/3. Means we could start shooting our opponent's stuff, so we can be able to attempt to shoot this for 1, which we can respond and use Agasth's Soul Cauldron to put a +1 counter on it. Shoot another one. We could use the welding jar, shoots it again, we'd still lose it. So we lose it in general. They would end up having to shoot and lose it all. So we say, in response, I'll shoot you for 1. Instead of doing the fight over it, let's save our resources. Shoot you for 1. We still have Agatha's Soul Cauldron to put an extra counter onto our Patchwork Automaton. We have the Shadow Spear, so we can try to close out the game that route and just swing in, right? Try to end the game that way. Just the trample is going to be very nice. Exiling enemies Zabaz. Put a +1 counter. Let's do it again. Now this is the fight we could have done the welding jar for. Alright, because don't forget, welding jar, sacrifice it, regenerate target creature. If the damage, right, the way that works out, damage would be able to kill it off. It's not going to be able to be killed off, essentially. It's like preventing that from happening. Okay, Hang It Back Walker, a nice little blocker there. But what do we got? 8, 9, 10. A 10-10 with trample and lifelink. Agatha's Soul Cauldron could potentially make it into an 11-11. That seems like lethal. I mean, our opponent has their own automaton that's pretty big here. I think it's a 9-9 maybe. Oh, but the Arcbound might make this a little bit harder for math-wise. Like, Yeah, they're both kind of stuck with this, like, all right, make sure that we can kill our opponents here. Do we have everything we need? Can I math it out? If they commit and they don't double check their math, because Arcbound here basically nullifies the One Ring, right? One Ring could sit here, bring our Hardened Scale player to 4 life. Or, worst case, they take damage off of the automaton. They don't go to 4 life, and then they can be able to... Oh, yeah, so they're just going to pass. Upkeep, take 2, go to 4, activate the One Ring. Draw 3 cards, and set up here. Yeah, I feel like it's easy to get stalemated here, but now the advantage meter is leaning, even though things are difficult right now. We could get another Zabaz here. Pop. No. We don't have our Walking Bliss anymore. Like, I was trying to think of a route that we could go Ink Moth win, which is it. With Arcbound, that's what opens up that avenue. You sack a bunch of artifacts and then sack Arcbound to itself and put +1 counters on Inkmoth and just one-shot somebody. The Beseiju is very nice, especially because we have the mana to pay for the ward cost here. So we could just break this stalemate right now and try to kill our opponent. Well, not necessarily kill them, but deal a lot of damage. I think the lifelink on the Hardened Scales player on the left, we could have had the swing in because we would have gained life, but I don't know. I guess the math becomes dangerous with the Arcbound Ravager out. And I think there's enough artifacts that you would have lost your Hardened Scale or your automaton to your opponent's automaton that way. Which, sadly, it's slightly off-screen right now. We're still looking at about improving our camera setup. There's a lot that goes into it. But we're doing the best we can right now with what we've got for continuing to bring you guys coverage here, but the plan is to continue to improve it. We're looking into it. Don't you worry. There's the Hardened Scales, namesake of the deck, coming out here. We can start getting additional +1 counters placed on things. So if Arcbound came in, Walking Ballista came in, they would enter with additional counters on them, so on and so forth. Agatha Soul Cauldron, of course, puts additional counters on things, all this kind of fun stuff. Let's exile this, target this. Yeah, interesting. We're kind of still stalemated here. Casting a Springleaf Drum trigger. Now it is a 12-12. 1, 2. Ooh, things get really bad here. So you could pop the Hangerback Walker, makes a Thopter. Right, you're putting 2 counters on Arcbound Ravagers. Eat the Thopter, put 2 more counters on it. Arcbound Ravagers are already there, sitting at a 5-5. You're going to eat the 1 ring this turn. Going to eat the Springleaf Drum. Like, we're set up to make a really big creature here. All right, neither player can really break the siege at the moment, the stalemate. I mean, there's the Beseiju that can help, but like even then, it's like destroy target creature, pay the ward costs. Okay, I'll activate Welding Jar and stop it from being destroyed, right? So what are our outs here? What can we look for? Oh, I guess Inkmoth wasn't named with Pithing Needle. What was named? Exile this Zabaz to put a +1 counter on this Inkmoth Nexus. It is a 2/2. Let's try to break the siege with infect damage. Again, you can just sit here and activate your own Inkmoth, do the Arcbound shenanigans, and be okay. Yep, we get to get, boom, start making it bigger. Interesting. We're okay with taking the 2 infect. All right. Activate and Hangerback Walker. Making it bigger. Yeah, I think there's still the Inkmoth over on both sides, so we have blockers, right? But the Arcbound definitely breaks the stalemate here. Gemstone Caverns. Beseiju. Targeting this, paying that. We'll pop our Welding Jar, so it taps it. Do we still die here? Let's see. it becomes tapped. Arcbound can push for damage. You still get to go search for a land. Ah. Okay, activating an Inkmoth Nexus. Activate this Hangerback Walker. Make this bigger. Swing with the team here. Yeah, so we could attempt to block the Inkmoth. That's fine. The problem is, yeah, let's do this. Activate Inkmoth. We sacrifice the Arcbound Ravager, or we sacrifice the Walking Ballista. No, Hangerback Walker. Oh my gosh, so many walkings. Hangerback Walker to the Arcbound Ravager, getting 2 more counters on it. All of those Thopters that it makes, all 5 of them, can then be sacrificed and put counters on the Arcbound Ravager, because now there are no creatures to block, because the Automaton has to be tapped to regenerate it, and the Inkmoth Nexus can only block one of the creatures. We still have enough to deal 17 damage, which brought us back to that. I think there was that turn, which maybe we would have lost it here, but really it came down to the One Ring, right? The One Ring made all the difference there of let's put a stop to whatever shenanigans was going on and rebuild our depleted hand and try to get back into the game that way, which is exactly what ended up happening in that matchup there. Which there's not much you can do if you're like, well, I don't have my Haywire Might out. I don't have a Urza Saga to try to pop and find something. I'm just kind of stuck. All right, we're going to ship it back, go to 6.
I'll get up and I'll leave it. I'll crack the card. I'll come back.
That would be an interesting
In the
thing for
round
Nan
to be
to
over.
narrate. The opponent has left. All right.
The opponent is back.
I was like, I see a Haywire Might at least. I see an Agustus Soul Cauldron, so this seems like a much more keepable hand. Haywire is a good start. What the blowout. Ouch. Force of Vigor, post sideboard. Let's get rid of this enchantment and artifact. So let's restart our life totals here. Oh, that was nuts. All right, and we're going to take our turn 1. It's almost like I went first and you didn't. All right, even though you lost, and you're down 2 cards. What that hurts. I don't know. That one hurt. All right, let's see. What are we digging for here? Do we need a land? Do we need... Ozolith is the choice and the pick here. Ozolith helps us at least to get things set up and ready for later, especially if we're manipulating and moving counters around. We get to just kind of keep using those counters later on. Haywire Might, it's like one player gets all the hate and all the removal, and the other player just has to try to battle through it, is what this match is turning into here for game 2. Which is a really unique and interesting story to try to see if that will come to pass. Will this player be able to find a way to battle through it all? Okay. Now we've got the Ozolith Shattered Spire here. This, I like this addition. Some lists have taken it out. Some lists are still running it. I like at least a one of in here. It's basically a double up on Hardened Scales here. Oh my gosh. Hey, remember what we just said of one player gets all the hate and all the removal? We're going to hit a Boseiju who endures to make sure none of those Urza Sagas pop off. Yeah, so Ozolith lets us put additional counters on it. Also, we could pay 2 and put a counter on target creature, but you can only do that at sorcery speed. So that's, yeah, basically gives your deck 5 copies of Hardened Scales by running the Ozolith in there. All right, where are we going from here? Both players are going to rock the Ozolith. So if a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put them on the Ozolith. Then beginning of combat, you can then take them off the Ozolith and put it on one of your creatures that you control. So works really well when we're sitting here and doing some manipulation and shenanigans. There's our X Soul Cauldron. Again, it does double duty of manipulates and messes with the graveyard, but also is allowing us to start doing things. There's the Haywire Might popping the Ozolith Shattered Spire, shattering our Hardened Scales players' hopes and dream of having a regular game, because it's just hate all the time here. This is nuts. But it is kind of some of the things that you have to think about when you are fighting the mirror matchup of how significant this sort of battle can be and the hate can be when you're having to fight through it all like this. Hey, Ozolith. Let's do some Ozolith things. Here's a Walking Ballista for 1. Hopefully that stays alive, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. You could get killed off by a Haywire Might hidden underneath the Soul Cauldron. Ah, Lava Spur Boots. I like this addition. Players are messing with this. Let's swing in. Of course, gives you ward, gives you haste, gives you that +1. So, swinging in. 3 damage. Still worried about the, I guess, the Soul Cauldron, but we survived a turn now without something getting blown up by our opponent. So we at least have that going for us. Let's make a construct. Construct, as a lot of players like to call it. Let's eat another Haywire Might, put another counter on Zabaz here. Get it bigger and bigger. It's now 4 power, 3 toughness. The opposite of a Goyf. Let's give it flying, swing in for 4. Got a clock going. Let's keep that going. Another Walking Ballista. Problem is, the Zabaz is getting away from us, and we need a way to start progressing our board or hoping to find some removal to deal with our opponent's board. Right now we're getting the hits going. Like, we're getting some stuff. Yep, of course, Shadow Spear, great choice. We floated a colorless here, so we can do the Agatha Soul's Cauldron stuff. Zabaz with the colorless. 2 mana to equip. And now we have our own clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, of course, 5 artifacts. And the Shadow Spirit gives it 1/1, turning it into a 6/6 lifelink trample. We can now start putting a clock on our opponent and swinging it back in our favor by gaining some life. Yeah, look at that swap. All right, we'll take those. We don't like seeing our Arcbound Ravager pop up if we're on the left-hand side of the screen. But on the right-hand side of the screen, we're feeling great. Arcbound Ravager can help us out. We can start to do some more manipulation here. We don't have as much to dump into things to try to close things out here. We need, like, the Inkmoth here or continue to go wide. The pure strategy that we had been going for with Zabaz is not enough, especially now that Shadow Spear is out. So now we have to try to find additional lines to kind of go for here. But Arcbound helps us with that manipulation of counters like we talked about, of moving counters around, putting them on the Ozolith, stuff like that. So here is the push. Let's swing in for 3 damage. Sorry, 4 damage. 3 counters on it, plus the +1. Let's block Zabaz with Zabaz. So we're going to get 2 counters essentially off of this. One will go onto the Ozolith, and then the modular trigger can go on the Walking Ballista here. So now, yep, go to damage. Boom, boom, boom. We've got counters going here and a counter going here. Boom, ready to go. Pass turn. Let's draw up 2 lands still, but I believe there was a Soul Cauldron in hand as a choice. Could go that route. I don't know. Another land. All right, Agatha Soul Cauldron, yep. So now if the problem is we can't be the one to activate it first. Whoever activates it first in response, right? I'd like to tap this and exile target card. Well, in response, I would like to tap mine and exile the same card, so I get it, you don't. Right? It becomes that weirdness that really only comes up in mirror matchups like this. Let's target this with our counter that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. Do we bring the ballista? I don't think so, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Do another chunk. Gain some more life. So we're double checking before damage. We did no blocks. Ooh. We get to see using Agatha Soul Cauldron, pay the green because we have a Haywire Mite. We're going to get rid of the Shadow Spear here. A line that, I don't know if you in chat were watching this and noticed that. I missed that line there. That was cool. So yes, we'll take a chunk, but it makes the construct a little bit smaller. Still a nice chunk, though. Oh. Active player turns 0. Lots of decision making and thinking in this match. And so we are in time. All right, let's see who can close it out. Will it be a 1-1-0 or 1-1-1? Is it a tie? Do we have a closeout? Will it be a 2-0? If it goes to be a 1-0-1, the player that had won the first game ends up winning the match. Inkmoth Nexus, activate this Pendlehaven. So we're in this weird... We don't have the Arcbound anymore, but we can push for damage. So this will be a total of 3 damage. Turn 1. All right, 4 mana. Do we got a 1 ring? Ballista for 2. Now we're in trouble because we still have to try to close out the game because we can't sit here and be passive and do nothing. We have to keep swinging. Animate Inkmoth. Go to blocks. Do we do some manipulation here? It's a 2/2 because it has a +1 counter on it. We're going to attempt to activate. Yeah, the question is to keep it alive here. Oh, are we just going to Haywire Mite it? To exile the Soul Cauldron. Oh, no. Now our Soul Cauldron lock no longer works. Because whatever we attempt to eat will just get eaten now. Now we're the one that's forced to react and use the Soul Cauldron first. Yeah, it doesn't. It's like attempt to do something in response. Oh, not targeting anything. Yeah, yeah. We could have done the fight over it. Doesn't really matter. Go to 5.
Instead, I'll exile Walking Ballista.
That's a big Zabaz. Move this counter here. Move to combat. Swing with this Zabaz. We don't have trample off of that, do we? Block. Before damage. Shoot for 1? I don't think it... it's like... It's risky, right? Our opponent has 1 card in hand. Shooting the damage. So here's the thing. Shoot 1 damage at the face, or let it die and have the counter go on the Ozolith to then be able to move onto our creature. So we go, let's let it die. We'll have the counter on the Ozolith. Maybe we draw into a Hardened Scales or something. We have a Walking Ballista, so we will shoot the construct so that dies. Oh my gosh, pick your... What is this? Game 2. Hey, we've gotten pick your poisoned. We got hit with the Force of Negation. We got hit with a Beseiju. We've gotten hit with Haywire Mites. There's been so much removal this entire game. Gives the boss flying.
I'll definitely check into it then.
We can shoot the... We can't... We end up winning because of... This is an Arcbound Ravager. There's a... Activate this. It's an Arcbound Ravager. Eat this. Use the Walking Ballistas to shoot that. Still aren't going to be able to kill our opponent, but we end up winning if there's enough turns. Right now this is turn 4, so it's like, again, that 1-0-1 situation, right? Oh no, we have enough. Yeah, it's right. Oh no, they're at 9. There's an Arcbound. 101 for the win. Oh, man. That was the most hate and removal to have to fight through. And for a deck that can, get picked apart like that, very, very tough positioning to be in with that game 2 post-sideboard stuff where things just get crazy, right? That's definitely stuff that happens. We've seen it before, and that is kind of the case in this. But hope you guys enjoyed that mirror matchup. It's been a while since we've seen some of those, so make sure you guys are following, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you haven't, we'll see you for some vintage action coming up on Thursday, as well as more Magic on Mondays for all the exciting stuff here at NanMan's Nerd Corner. But thanks for tuning in and watching, everybody, and I'll see you all next game.